I cannot believe that just happened. I don't even really know where to start here. There is so much to unpack. This is legitimately one of the biggest NHL trades of the last 20 years, maybe of all time. The only other trades of this magnitude that happened relatively recently that I can think of off the top of my head are the deals that sent Jack Eichel to Vegas and Matthew Tkachuk to Florida. I'm taking a bit of a risk recording this video now because the trade call actually hasn't happened yet, but it does appear as though we have all the details, and it looks something like this. The Carolina Hurricanes have acquired Mikko Rantanen and Taylor Hall. The Colorado Avalanche have acquired Martin Necas, Jack Drury, a 2025 second-round draft pick, and a 2026 fourth-round draft pick. And the Chicago Blackhawks receive a third-round draft pick, a pick that previously belonged to them, and they're also retaining 50% of Mikko Rantanen's salary. And another key detail that needs to be mentioned is the fact that Mikko Rantanen still has not signed an extension, so this wasn't a sign-and-trade. Mikko Rantanen is still scheduled to hit unrestricted free agency this summer. I guess first, let's just get the Blackhawks part of this deal out of the way. I'm a bit surprised that all they were able to get is a third-round draft pick, considering the fact that they traded Taylor Hall and also retained half of Rantanen's salary. But that's really all I have to say about their inclusion in this deal. Let's get into the fun stuff now. Mikko Rantanen is a member of the Carolina Hurricanes. Over the last few weeks, we had been getting reports that the contract negotiations between Mikko Rantanen and his camp and the Avalanche had reached a stalemate. Mikko Rantanen was looking for something similar to the extension that Leon Draisaitl signed with the Edmonton Oilers in the $14 million per season range, and the Colorado Avalanche were wanting that number to be a lot closer to McKinnon's $12.6 million per season. Chris Johnston summed things up pretty well here in a tweet. He said, once the Avs determined they weren't able to extend Mikko Rantanen, they decided to capitalize on his minimal trade protection to avoid losing him for nothing. In addition to getting Necas, Drury, a second and a fourth, they've freed up cap space, more to come for Colorado. And you know what, I will say, even though I don't think this trade makes the Avalanche a better team, and a lot of Avalanche fans are really upset right now, if they weren't going to get an extension done before the trade deadline, this absolutely had to happen. This is a much better outcome than letting Mikko Rantanen walk to unrestricted free agency. Is somebody like Martin Necas going to come in and fill Mikko Rantanen's shoes? Absolutely not. I think it's unrealistic to expect that of him, but Martin Necas is a very good player. He is having a breakout season. Although he's cooled off recently, he's still well over a point per game. He's still only 26 years old, and is signed through next season at a very team-friendly cap hit of $6.5 million. They're also getting a young defense-first centerman in Jack Drury, who should be a pretty good fit on their third or fourth line. And like Chris Johnston said in the tweet that I recently mentioned, they free up cap space, and I would be willing to bet my life on the fact that the Avalanche plan on using every bit of that cap space. So while yes, they are losing a true game breaker in Mikko Rantanen, one of the most dominant offensive players in the NHL, a big-time playoff performer as well, I still don't think this is the end of the world for Colorado. This is a trade that is definitely going to enable the Avalanche to go out and put a lot more depth around Nathan MacKinnon, that's for sure. So those are my thoughts on the Avalanche part of this deal. Let's now shift focus and talk about the Carolina Hurricanes. If you're a Hurricanes fan, you have to be absolutely elated right now. This is a big time addition for a team that I think desperately needed it. Carolina has been one of the better teams in the Eastern Conference for years now, but they're still trying to get over the hump in the playoffs and actually make it out of the Eastern Conference. They've been to a few conference finals, but they're still trying to make their first Stanley Cup final with this core. And by making this trade, I think Carolina has drastically improved their chances of coming out of the Eastern Conference this year. This is now easily the best teammate Sebastian Aho has had in his NHL career. Mikko Rantanen is a legit superstar, a 100-point player, the kind of guy that is capable of taking over a game by himself, and he's also statistically one of the best playoff performers in NHL history based off of points per game. Even if Mikko Rantanen doesn't end up signing an extension with Carolina, and this just ends up being a rental, this is still a trade you make 10 out of 10 times if you're the Hurricanes. This trade makes the Carolina Hurricanes a significantly better team. Like I said, I think this drastically improves their odds of coming out of the Eastern Conference and making the Stanley Cup Finals. A guy like Mikko Rantanen really does add a whole other element to this team, and also getting Taylor Hall Hall is cool too. A nice little addition to the middle six. Taylor Hall obviously isn't the player that he once was, but he's still a pretty solid playmaker and has a decent amount of speed and can play with pace. I think he's going to be a pretty solid fit in the Hurricanes system. So those are my initial thoughts on the massive 3-team blockbuster trade that sent Taylor Hall and Mikko Rantanen to the Carolina Hurricanes and Martin Necas and Jack Drury to the Colorado Avalanche. As always, I want to know what you guys are thinking, especially if you're a fan of any of the teams that were involved in this trade. Sound off down below in the comments. Let me know how you're feeling. Be sure to leave a like on the video if you enjoyed, and of course, be sure to hit that subscribe button if this is your first time checking out the channel, because we're going to be making videos breaking down all of the big trades that happen in the next month or so leading up to the deadline.